Hello. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about fairy souls and signs that there possibly is a fairy soul nearby. These are just based off of blocks or like certain blocks. So like they might use them some places where they're not fairy souls, but they often link to fairy soul locations. I'll be explaining about these and showing different examples. Go to the hub once more. No, not once more. Just to start. Rebind my keys, so I forgot that I had rebind. Like, our first example is mossy stone bricks and mossy cobblestone. If they're in places where they usually shouldn't be, then you might find a fairy soul like we have here. Another example is further along this way. If you see a patch of dandelions that actually have like a line that you can flow through one to another that tend to go one direction and the other direction, there's bound to be a fairy soul, like there is here. And another sign there might be a fairy soul are these jungle leaves. If the jungle leaves aren't usually in that kind of area or island, then there's probably a fairy soul. And same thing applies to mossy stone bricks and mossy cobblestone. Another example is, well, this only happens like twice. But if you find lily pads in a shape like this, you most likely found a fairy soul. I believe there are two of them, but I have yet to see any others. There might just only be one. I might be thinking of something else. I will show you an exception, which you see dandelions here and there. Don't really mean much. Here in the wilderness, they don't really represent much for the most part of the time. I'll show you an example in the wilderness where it doesn't count. Again, there's the jungle leaves right there. If you go around to this tree, you'll see a line of a few dandelions, and we have our dandelions up there. We have the mossy stone bricks and our fairy soul. So now, our next one is we're gonna check out over at the castle that has been overrun with wolves, I suppose is the lore. But it's the ruins, destroyed by lore, apparently, in the journals. It was apparently destroyed by rulers of the catacombs. I won't get too much into that. I might some other video. Here you see there's like leaves, but they're not quite jungle leaves. And they're vines, and you're like, vines might be a sign. Vines aren't usually a sign. Why do I have... Hold on, gotta get rid of cinematic mode. They aren't usually a sign, unless they're jungle leaves, and even... I'm pretty sure they aren't even a sign most of the time. But if you find jungle leaves or in an area where there usually isn't, there's a fairy soul nearby, possibly. And here there is no fairy soul, but you can still see the mossy stone bricks, so that makes you think, but there's not actually fairy souls there. Right here, you'll see we have a bunch of jungle leaves with a fairy soul. It's just a few examples of and not of. We'll talk later about pots, flower pots, and why they could be linked to fairy souls, but not all of them are. First, I want to explain that a few things I'm showing in this video that are fairy souls are true, but I might be inaccurate and it could just be coincidences. I'm not sure, but it's just what I found. So I found this just to be, interesting, and so I decided to make a video about it, and if I'm wrong, do correct me in the comments. And let's keep going. Here, in the park, yes, there's an entire jungle biome. You'd be thinking, why is there so many jungle leaves? Are there all fairy souls? You might or might not be thinking that, but the truth be told, these are just jungle leaves for decoration. Most of them pretty much mean nothing. And this is not the formation I was talking about for fairy souls, by the way. Though there is something that makes it weird that it's there. I don't know why. But here you do see jungle leaves, mossy stone bricks, and a fairy soul. Okay, another example of leaves, but not all leaves, has to be jungle. Is here you see jungle leaves inside of acacia, and it looks different because it's a different biome. But there's fairy soul with jungle leaves surrounded by acacia leaves. Here I'm at the end island. It's very far from spawn. Spawn's like right above my head, but like behind that right there behind that spike that's right above, sort of behind my head. But here there's another fairy soul. Can you see it? Do you notice anything? It's right here on this little ledge I'm on. How about if I stand right here? Do you notice anything? Anything out of the ordinary? Right here. There's a pot with a dandelion in it. Now we already know dandelions are normally a pretty good sign that there's actually a fairy soul. And when there's a pot that has a dandelion in it, then you know for sure it's a fairy soul, which there is one right here. If you look closely, just look down, you'll see one beneath the pot. This is not the only example. I'm going to show you more. Here you might find another example of the pot with the dandelion. It's one of the very few examples. There's not many of them around. Do you see it? It's down this way, if you look behind me. Right over here, there's another flower pot. And this one leads to fairy soul, yes, but it's also tricky. I'll show it if I can. Or like if it can show easily. There's a fairy soul down here. Notice it doesn't have mossy cobblestone or stone bricks, but it has the pot that lets you know it's there. And while I'm here in the end, nether, this was the end. Life would be a whole lot different in Minecraft. But if you take a look around, in the Blazing Fortress, you'll find a very interesting correlation between redstone and fairy souls. So, like, the closest fairy soul to spawn is right down here. And you'll see there's fairy soul right there, right here, and here. And there's a fairy soul with redstone. It's not the only example. There's so many of them. Well, first there's redstone here, but if you travel up here behind the fire, you see there's a fairy soul. That's another example. There's a lot of examples of this in the Blazing Fortress. And it's the only place that actually uses redstone to signify if there's a fairy soul nearby. Another example is down here, and you're like, wait, there's literally redstone right here? Where does this go? Where could it go? Oh, a fairy soul. Who knew? Almost as if I already knew what it meant. There's a lot of fairy souls throughout in areas. And, well, you can take your time to look for it. I'm just gonna enjoy this magma boss, as apparently there is one. Okay, so here you see there's the magma fields and everything. Just had the boss. Well, I'm gonna show you a few more examples of what I was talking about with redstone and fairy souls. So you don't see much. Oh wait, there's a redstone. Redstone. I wonder where they lead to. Huh. I'll leave you guys to try to find the fairy soul if you want. But it has something to do with getting on this ledge. There's many other different signs, but before I wrap up this video and do like a summary, I want to show you there are some exceptions to these rules, and some of those that are like rarely used, if even. And those includes the lily pads ones that I was talking about. It includes this right here with the lava, where you see the lava is like all flowing into this area where there's not a lava block. Go down and there's a fairy soul there. There's so many different little things that are different. Another odd one out is the flower pots with dandelions in them. There's so many different ways there that I could they could find out there's a fairy soul nearby. But those are just some of the basic ones. To sum it up, there's 4 lily pads surrounding 1 block of water, which go down and it'll find a fairy soul. Same thing, except it's just missing a lava block. And there's a fairy soul. Find redstone in the blazing fortress, you're gonna find a fairy soul. If you find a flower pot with a dandelion in it, you're going to find a fairy soul, and there's multiple places with that. If you find a line of dandelions that go from one direction to another and has sort of a flow, then you most likely found a fairy soul. There's some in the spider's den and the wilderness, for example. If you do find a group of mossy cobblestone and mossy stone bricks that are in the hub or other locations, you might have found a fairy soul, you might not have. Those are just a few things to look out for. And with this, I hope you have a good rest of the year, as it's almost the end of the year, and a nice holiday break, and I'll see you in the next episode.